All right, hey Gary, I'm gonna run through the lifts that are on your workout. I'm gonna try to run here straight through to make this video as simple as possible for me to make. So let me see. So know for each day you're lifting, if you look, there's kind of a theme. There's an Olympic lift, lower body lifts, upper body lifts, and some auxiliary stuff and some hip stuff. So for day one, you have hang high pulls. So essentially what you're going to do is it's just like a modified clean version of that. So you have your hands in about a bench press grip, somewhere around like this. And all you're doing is you go a little bit past your knees. So you're getting that explosive movement from the clean without catching the clean. So it looks like this. This is a good exercise that's pretty dynamic, ballistic, which is good for throwing, but then I feel like it's appropriate for your training. So then the next Olympic lift is push press. So what I'm looking for there is essentially moving like this. We're gonna squat a little bit with the legs and press up. Our goal is to have full extension. So again, we're not going under it, we're pushing through the top. So bend the knees, push through the top. Bend the knees, push through the top. All right, so the next one for your lower body exercise on day one is step ups. Now for step ups, I want you to step on a box no higher than the thigh parallel with the ground. So you can see that this is pretty much parallel. So this would be the max height. I would suggest for you to find a box or make a box that's a few inches below parallel. That'll be more isolated on your hamstrings and your butt. But essentially, you either can hold a barbell or use dumbbells. And you're going to push from your heel and stand up. Boom. So that's step up. For your day two leg exercise, I have what's called a rhythm squats. And what I want you to do for rhythm squats is I want this to be a dynamic, explosive version of a squat. So essentially, you're gonna do the squat. So you'll squat down as far as you can or normally do. Then I want your up motion. So the up motion to be flat, powerful, I want you to end up on your toes. So you'll go down. Boom. Now, if you get, an inch of air time or 2 inches of air time, that's great, but you don't have to. All I'm looking for is an explosion so that the knees straighten, the hips straighten, and that causes you to go up at least onto your toes. So that would be rhythm squats. All right, now for the upper body lift, you have for day one, it's military press. You can do this seated or standing. I don't care, it depends on the day probably. But that's just hands in front, strict press all the way up. All right, then the other day 2 is dumbbell flies. So there's 2 ways that I use dumbbell flies. One is for like an auxiliary exercise, like a support exercise, and the other way is more of a base lift. So and that's what I want for this program. I want the flies to be considered like a main lift. And so you're gonna go a little bit heavier weight, you're gonna have a little bit more bend in your elbows, and are really focusing on strength in your chest. So like that, I'll show you. So in the future, if we do a like flies for an auxiliary lift, again, the difference would be your arms would be a lot straighter, and you're more feeling for burn rather than max weight. All right, so now we have an upper body back exercise, and we have on the list is bent over flies. For bent over flies, it's just a really great discus exercise. So, of course, it's the opposite of a dumbbell fly. You're just going to bend over, back nice and straight. And we're going to flex our upper back. The other exercise for upper body is like a lat pull down. So essentially you can just use like bands like this. Let's see if I can do this. And like if you were in a dumbbell, like a lat pull down machine, just trying to simulate that. So if you have a lat pull down machine, if you're at the gym, you can do that. If not, the bands work just fine. And again, just squeezing the upper back. All right, so now we have our posterior chain auxiliary exercise, and for day 1, it's straight leg deadlift. So this is an exercise that's going to really force your back, your butt, and your hamstrings. Depending on where you're weakest is where you're going to feel it. So you'll probably feel it in your hamstrings and butt. That's normal, but we'll just see. But what we want to do is when we have the bar in our hand, we're going to have our feet like that. You can have the knees bent just a little. But our goal here is keep our back nice and straight, have our lower back arched. We're going to move our hips backwards and let that bar slide right down our body. And again, that is what I'm calling straight leg deadlift. And we're focusing on your posterior chain. It's important in this exercise that we're not rolled over like this. Everything's very strong and straight. And again, the key is the hips move backwards so that you can lower the bar. We're not bending our knees. Okay, so another, for day 2, the posterior chain auxiliary exercise is glute extensions. So essentially you're gonna take this band, you're gonna wrap it around something. Like so, put your foot in it, and you are going to extend back this way. So glute extensions. My suggestion would be to use as light of a band as possible so that we can maximize range of motion and so you get all of the reps. The reps are going to be important for these exercises, just getting some volume in those muscles. Now for the last exercise, it's banded hip abduction. So it's the exact same thing. So where the last one, we're working on our glutes going this way. Hip abduction is when the leg goes out from the body. So you'll put the band on your foot and you're moving your leg out. Okay, we want to work on this side of our hips and our butt. This is this is what needs to be strong, kind of help you with that hip under shoulder position. So you just use your band set up and go like this. I'm recording a video, just give me 1 minute. So that's the workout for September. Let me know if you have any additional questions, but if not, that's that. Hope this video was helpful, and I will see you around.